And I mean, while we were talking about, um, I just recall the incident where there was an organization that had reached out to us to train their people on the whole negotiation part when it comes to the hiring of candidates. Senior roles were concerned, um, and that was a brief that was given over the phone. And once I went there, I realized that they were sitting with a hand on the head because they had lost a real good amount of talent already, because the people who are finally having that conversation on the compensation, they did not know how to negotiate. They kept their salaries as a benchmark and not the market benchmark. And by the time we could intervene, I realized that the damage was already done. The word was already there in the market that I mean, they are really bad paymasters. They don't give the hike that's a norm in the market, so on and so forth. So yes, so many times it's catching up, and once you're catching up, you're already behind of the curve. So and the other point that I wanted to raise and get your opinion on was, I also see a lot of HR professionals who are consistently working really hard to make sure what the kind of learnings, the sessions that they had organized last year, this year they want to do it better.
Mm,
Now, the definition of better is very different.
mm,
Many times, the pull from the audience is that it has to be in a better place.
mhm,
Okay, so better many times takes a deviation,
mm,
and and I feel the minute they start especially the HR professional, humans of HR focused on learning and development, the minute they start looking inwards on how do I improve the experience, many times they forget to look outwards, because that's the perspective that's going to help them understand this is what maybe we need to identify, and this is what we need to upskill our people on. So, so I think there's a brilliant opportunity here for humans of HR to not just be inward looking professionals, but be outward looking, so that they are able to add that business value. So the whole concept of business partner
mm.
is to create business relevance of establish the business relevance for HR, and this could be one fantastic way of adding value to. When I'm talking value, I'm talking tangible value, by looking outward, interacting with people across industry, understanding the trend, and thinking ahead of the curve. So, so your thoughts on this? How could humans of HR do that?
Those wonderful observations, and there are multiple points in it. So let me try and recollect and try and respond to all of them. If I miss, give me a cue again. So let me take the first one in terms of the
Better,
hmm?
a better experience.
So my benchmark is very different, and that comes from lived experience. What if your CEO told you that you have a zero budget for learning and development? That's what my CEO in my last corporate role told me. And the kind of learning and development that I made happen was better than anywhere else that I've ever experienced. So, A, you don't need a budget for learning and development because you have experts inside the house and you have people who want to learn. All that you need to do is to figure out the right platforms. One of the things that you and I have seen evolve is that from 2 day trainings, full day trainings, we've moved to an online 2 hour module. Now, and we've moved even from there, from an online 2 hour module to an online video off, audio off 2 hour online module. Now, be that as it may, the fact is that there is tremendous opportunity and need for learning on the job. And there is always somebody who is more senior, more experienced, who has better insights, a great communicator within the team who needs to share how to share their perspective and their learning and their the problem here is that most of the people who are in operational roles may or may not have the communication skills or the facilitation skills to be able to transfer that learning. And so that is where you need professional help in ensuring that the kind of platforms that you create are brilliant, good platforms, and they work for everyone. And the way that it will be moderated or facilitated, because if your experts or the content providers are not good at facilitation, you cannot make a bunch of people suffer because of that. And so you have to create a via media. There has to be a facilitator who will, kind of hold the reins and hold the entire learning exercise together with the expert and the learners. So you have to look at it in multiple ways. So I'm saying the best learning happens with zero budget,
Hmm.
and it's the most enjoyable as well because there's no agenda. In fact, what my learning was that every organization should put out a learning calendar for the year. 1st of January, or why 1st of January? 15th of December, you publish a learning calendar for the next year. And you tell people, and there are two ways in which you can approach it. You can say, okay, this session will happen only if there are 20 registrations by this time, or 10 registrations by this time. If 10 people or more are not interested, this is not going to happen. So people who are really keen, they understand, they are the ones who are canvassing their colleagues and saying, no, why don't you sign up? And I'm signing up on your behalf. Let's get this going. The second one is that there are only so many seats and first come, first serve, whoever registers for this. And you need to have some norms in terms of when the window opens and when the window closes. You need to have other norms as well. You sign up, you don't turn up. So the first time round, yeah, there must have been an exigency. Okay. Second time round, now it's a little difficult to stomach. So now, if you want to get into a learning program, you need to get an approval from your reporting manager. Otherwise, you can self-nominate to whatever programs. And I think you should keep all of them open. Who is the learning champion to judge that I should put this person only in this program and not in that program? As long as, yeah, I mean, it should not become an escape hatch for running away from work with the excuse of training. And I'm saying that it's good, no, even to a boss who has a person who's constantly trying to go to these different trainings, it should tell the boss that I need to give more challenges at work for this person to be able to put to use all the learn. So I think you should not stop people from learning. The second is in terms of uh, what was I going to say? I think, and it ties up with career progression as well. There's this book by this Google fellow. I think Search Inside Yourself is probably the name. Either search inside yourself, search within yourself. Chade Ming Tan is the name. Is the Google fellow who is responsible for the Google's proposition was that there is no training and there's no career path. You figure out what you want to do and you make yourself capable. And they provide you one day in every 5 days to take up a project of your liking. And they create this cafeteria where you can mingle with a lot of different people. And so you keep talking and you figure out somebody is doing something which interests you. You kind of figure out a deal with them, and so that you give that one day that you're allowed 20% of your work time that you're allowed to do some other project. I think that's brilliant. To pull it off is even more brilliant. These ideas are great, but to make them actually happen is even more difficult. And there is no conventional career left any longer.
True. Hmm.
So I think it's a great way to. I think increasingly more organizations will have to resort to this, where they say, here is the menu, and these are the dates on which it is happening. You look out, you figure out what you want to do. Now, the organization can at the back end support with a lot of psychometrics. For example, for leadership teams, we know that Strengths Finder is a great way to start that process where people understand of the 34 professional competencies, what are their top five and what are their edges, and what do they need to learn to be able to manage their edges, etc. So you need to kind of the organization needs to play facilitator far more than kind of a directing people to go to this training or that training. There are two other trends that I've seen that have happened, not as much now, but probably more in the last 5 years to 10 years time span, which was that training was used as entertainment.
Hmm.
That I am here now, put out the song and dance in front of me, and I will judge what I want to give you out of five. It's your lookout to engage me. It is your lookout to ensure that I don't sleep and I don't misbehave in through the program. Uh, well, training as entertainment, I have my great training is always very engaging. I don't know whether it'll always be entertaining or not, but people will get fired up when they experience great learning. The second aspect of it is training as a reward. That look,
I was about to get to that.
we'll send you off, and it's your time off on pay. It's a kind of a paid leave. You enjoy, your stay in the guest house or in the hotel or at the venue resort, and do whatever you want to do. There is no there's no accountability. There's no hard metric. Chalo main khush hua as your boss, I'm sending you to a training. I think these are the worst case situations for learning.
No, leading that, taking that conversation forward, the point that you mentioned. Now, there are two approaches that I very often come across. One is where the minute the manager kind of nominates you to a training, it is either a punishment, or there are organizations where they present learning opportunities as a reward for the work that they have invested or the hard work that they've invested. So the same training can be positioned as a punishment and a reward, or a reward. And we know for a fact, I mean, if we look at data, we will very clearly understand that the PIP is like being thrown into a prison, whereas it's a performance improvement program where people are expected to learn and improve and then come out of it. I think it's the way it is presented. It's to do with the culture of the organization, where getting nominated for a training, if that is worn as a badge of honor, I think that's a slightly better off culture than being pushed into a room saying that you haven't finished your mandatory 48 hours of learning. So the punishment versus a reward. I mean, how do we position learning within an organization?
So I think both are wrong. And that, so that brings me to its correlation with performance management. And so there is a correlation. And let me explain how I see that. And I see that a little differently from most practitioners. And I'm not saying that the other practitioners are not right. I'm saying, in my lived experience, there are certain things that I think work better as compared to other things, but though theoretically both may be equally strong. So let's take this concept of um, performance management from a competence basis. What is the competency framework required to succeed in a role vis-a-vis the uh, key performance indicators? The two ways, right? You have a KPIs and you have competencies. Now, when you say KPI, saying that you need to do A, B, C, D, E, this is what you need to do, this is what you need to accomplish by this time, etc. Right? That's the KPI. Now, what I find that is that Western cultures tend to work very well with KPIs because it gives a lot of clarity. They know what they need to do, what time they need to go ahead and make it happen, and there is no debate. It doesn't work the same way, at least I think, culturally in India. For example, if you have to reach from a particular place, how long is it going to take? You have no idea, because what are you going to hit? Our public transport roads doesn't make life any easy. And you look at people apologizing on Japanese trains if the train is running 2 minutes late, and giving them a apology card which they can give at their office to prove that actually the train ran late by 2 minutes. You look at this and you kind of say, is this a different planet? And so we live in a different planet. Here, competency framework, you say, okay, if this is what you need to accomplish, then these are the competencies that you need. Competencies meaning uh, knowledge, skills, and attitude. So if you tell a person in India that, look, you missed your KPI, and so you're going to bear the consequences, the guy is going to be very happy saying, but I made all the effort. And a lot of things were not in my control. What do I do? But if you look at it and give you measure it through competencies, and competencies can be measured really well through an assessment center, through a development center.
Mm,
And
mm,
you know, as the person's manager, as the person's HR, that these are the competencies that the person is great at, and these are the competencies where the person struggles. And so you support this person in building those competencies through coaching, through training, through learning and development interventions. And if there are people who are kind of having a problem, across the board, then that's an organization-wide intervention that you need to create for
mm,
that competency. And when you tell people that, look, this is what you will tend to do well, this is where you will struggle, and therefore this is what you need to start building your capability in. They're able to take that better. Culturally, it's not an insult, because people say, yeah, I know I'm not perfect, but you can't tell me that I'm not good enough. I didn't meet the KPI. So the very purpose of that KPI is different. And also, KPI is like a go, no go measure. It's either a yes or a no. Either you, and one of the multinationals I used to work for called it a no excuses performance. Say either you do it or you haven't done it. Don't give excuses, which built an extremely unhealthy and extremely problematic, aggressive, over aggressive culture, because people didn't care about what the context was and who the other people involved in that, because things are a team effort. They're not in an organization, they're not an individual effort. But this person will want to ram through and will want to just bulldoze everybody else in order to meet and to say that, look, no excuses. I have done what I was expected to do. And the damage that you have caused, the dead bodies that are lying, the people whom you have climbed over in being able to achieve what was your individual outcome as per your role, I think that damage is substantive. So I think there are ways in which work better, and I think the competency approach works better, the competency framework approach. And there are, different models available today. The stretched competencies model for high performing teams where everybody is doing really well. So how do you rate them relatively? It's very difficult in a keep up KPI thing. You might still want to differentiate. So I think both from a learning and development perspective as well as from a performance perspective. So that's the first part of what you asked. So back to you. I want you to remind me what was the other part that you asked.
I was talking about how important it is for HR to look outwards,
Ah.
so that they are able to, they are aware of the relevant skills that could actually help the organization.
Hmm. So yeah, I think so. That's one challenge that conventional HR folks who've had their careers only through HR have always had, is they struggle with understanding the business. What makes a difference to the business? And that is key in terms of prioritizing what you, because the time is limited. There's only so much time that you can put in learning and development. And the best cases that I know of is very similar to Google, that in a week,
Mhm.
1 day is what people can afford to send people away into training. And that too, not when it is a startup trying to scale up, because you're always short of resources at that time. It's only when you have built a little bit of a buffer, or there is a seasonality in the business, that times when you have a little bit of breathing space, then you kind of pack quite a punch there in terms of your learning interventions. But otherwise, it's very difficult and it's not logical to take away time from the business, put people into a room, and there is a fire.
And
Uh,
then, yeah.
so, so I think building a business case is paramount for each formal learning intervention. You have, as in the humans of HR have to build a proper business case where what you are preventing, the either the actual loss that would occur because a person didn't have the skill, so they couldn't close the deal, or the you know so either it is a actual a loss or an opportunity cost, that if I have a person who's not capable of converting this opportunity, then I've lost that opportunity, and that window is
Mhm.
closed. And so, what's the opportunity cost and what is the um, direct cost of not knowing? And of course, we have heard these sayings that if you don't invest in training, then you don't even know what is the cost of, I think they say it as, cost of stupidity or cost of not learning. So yeah, these are valid. So what do humans of HR do? They talk to the business leader and they ask the business leader, what is most important for you and why? And not just what the leader tells. Try go at least 2 levels deeper and saying, okay, why is this important? Also talk to people who are the role holders, so the heads of the functions, the heads of a particular domain, and try and understand from them what are the key things that need to happen. What does success look like for your function, for your team member? What is it that they've done that makes you feel, that makes you give a positive response saying, yeah, this is it, this is what I want, this is the ideal outcome, this is the ideal situation? And based on that, then you go back and you create, you facilitate for those things to happen. There is one more point that I think, add, and it's a very easy point to understand. I think that typically 3 or 4 levels of learning interventions that one should have on the calendar. The first level is obviously the for the people who are responsible for their individual performance. I mean, individual contributor roles, and those have to do with managing your time well, being able to influence others without authority, and so on. So there's this whole series of things that need to be there on the menu, no questions asked. Then the next level is, how do we manage others? So this is for the first time managers, even for seasoned managers. There's something that they will need to keep pushing their capabilities forward. The third one is at managing a domain. So if you're a manager of managers, multiple things that you're handling, multiple geographies, even if it is the same thing, then there are these dynamics that you need to understand. And then the fourth level is managing business in terms of what are the capabilities that you will need to understand and respond to the business. And interestingly, a lot of learning at that level, you may not be able to do it in house. You may need to send this, for example, for strategy plan and planning. You may need to send the person to a good institute, a management institute that has these experts who are very good at doing this. They kind of earned their PhDs and they built cases and they've understood this really well, and they know how to facilitate this learning to happen through capstone, through case studies, through games. and through conceptual exposure and discussions as well. So yeah, you need to have all of these at any given point of time. Doesn't matter what's the size of the organization. You should have at least one. You should have substantive number for each. Maybe for the it's only the founder who's at level at the highest level, and so maybe there's only one program that they may want to go to the seeds program in Harvard in Stanford, for example. If that is one program, that's an external one that they're sending people to. So I think relevance, cost, all of these things did kind of determine also how much you can do. But nevertheless, you have all of this, and a large part of this you can drive through internal facilitation, internal mentors, internal facilitators. Yeah, you may have to train them initially, and then handhold them a little bit. But once it is set, then it keeps rolling. If you want, I can give you a lot of examples, but back to you.
Very interesting. I think this wraps the whole conversation very beautifully. I think, and going by how it was flowing, I think we might have to schedule another piece on how to implement um, an impactful learning calendar for an organization. So we'll surely save it up for another session. And to wrap things up, I would like to say that I think it's important that we nurture the child within every resource, because every time a child learns something, they have a spring in their feet, they feel accomplished, and I think that feeling is enormously important for any organization to grow. For people to see that, see, this is what I learned, this is what I did, this is what I did, and this is how it's going to help us. That excitement is what oils the entire engine of an organization. And I think the minute that is lost, then I think we have uh, a bunch of snobs who feel they've been there, done that, and they are protecting their grounds, and eventually the whole organization caves within. So it's important to nurture the child within. That's something that I always say, and I think and that squarely, maybe even unfairly, falls on the shoulders of humans of HR to nurture the child within everybody, in each and every employee within the organization. I think we this is also a callback to an episode where we were talking about the different needs individuals have at different phases of their life, and when they actually get that, they experience the excitement, a childlike excitement of having found something, and that's extremely important. That's a spark that could actually light a fire,
Mm.
and that is extremely important for the organization. So thank you so much, He, for talking us through the journey on the importance of learning as a culture, the mindset required for the leader uh, to build this as a practice within the organization, and how humans of HR could, what should they be looking at? It's not always about a huge budget, because there are experts sitting within leverage, and and either party could actually feel accomplished by the end of it. So and how looking outward, there's one extra point that I would love to add, in addition to what you just said, is it's not only about talking to to the leaders within the organization. It's also important to maybe talk to leaders outside the organization, could be in a from a different sector altogether, because that many times gives a very important perspective on how to approach the learning challenges, or the possibility aspect, understanding the playing field where they are and where they are positioned. So I
No,
think that is again something.
the biggest example is psychological safety. It came from the ICU in the healthcare field. And look, today it's all over the place. So I have a brilliant example that I want to give to help understand how does this play out for humans of HR. So Harish,
Hmm.
you are an accomplished musician. And as far as I remember, you play about at least different musical instruments really well at a
Hmm.
professional level. That wouldn't
Semi-pro.
that wouldn't have happened if. Your wife hadn't gifted you a new musical instrument every year.
True.
That's the role that the organizations have to keep playing.
Very true. Very true. I mean, absolutely. Creating that opportunity is important. And in fact, there was a point when I felt, I mean, oh, fine, I need to learn another musical instrument this year. So I would turn around and ask, what is it that you're buying for me this year? So again, and now that you spoke about music and instruments, it absolutely brings out the child within, and that's the point I was talking about. The excitement of trying something new and seeing how understanding
Critical,
the
that mental process that we talked about right at the
right,
beginning.
right, and then you rediscover a new side of things, and that's what keeps people going. Because I believe the minute, I mean, if I could wrap this up by saying, I think the day we stop learning is the day we stop breathing. And um, anybody accomplished, even the senior folk I was talking about, the senior experienced folk sitting, wise man sitting in Kerala, even they learn till the last breath. Everything is basis learning, and yes, it has an anthropological perspective, and there is a business value to that as well. And the relevance today is more real than ever before. So, with that, thank you so much, E, for walking us through this very interesting conversation, very relevant to all the humans of HR and all business leaders as well. I hope they continue supporting our channel by sharing, liking, subscribing, because that just helps us
And
reach to.
asking us, what else do you want us to cover? If there's something that triggered interest and you want to learn more, do write in.
Oh yeah, that surely helps, right? So once again, thank you so much, and looking forward to the next conversation. Just as much as you are excited about it, and keep supporting, and let's reach out to everybody who could benefit from this. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Harish. Bye.